Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and this is episode 585. I am joined, as always, by my co-host Stacy. That is at StacyPatton89 on Twitter. Stacy, how you doing?
Doing all right. Feeling like come down from heaven and cure somebody myself. So
yes. It's a good couple of weeks of basketball. At least a good week of basketball, I should say. We are going to talk about the Knicks first round matchup. They are playing the Atlanta Hawks, which was determined yesterday. We will talk about that and plenty more. Before we do that, I do have to let you know that Strickland has a Patreon at patreon.com/Strickland. If you subscribe to the $6 tier, you get access to this podcast, Pod Strickland, that I host every Friday at the Press. You also get access to the Strickland Discord, where you can converse with site staff as well as other patrons. If you subscribe to the $9 tier, you get access to even more podcasts like Strictly NFL. That's a podcast about the NFL, which I think you could have guessed on your own, as well as other perks and benefits. And thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel. FanDuel has you covered for all of your sports betting needs. NBA playoffs, which are now here. We have MLB regular season, which is a daily event, and plenty more. So thank you to FanDuel. And again, if you have anything that you want to bet on, FanDuel has you covered. Well, the Knicks lost their final game of the regular season, a game that didn't matter. They basically rested everybody of consequence. Deuce McBride played. He scored 21 points. It was good to see him get a chance to see the ball go in the bucket. That's something that he has struggled with a little bit since he got back from injury. So good to see him end the season on a high. Maybe hopefully catch a rhythm that he can carry on into the postseason. Yeah, I think other than that, it was a fairly inconsequential game for the Knicks. Of consequence, the Magic did drop their game to the Celtics in truly embarrassing fashion.
Orlando Magic. Whoa. Sorry.
Yes.
It is a cool fun. I don't want to say it's cool. It's a very memorable song.
It was fun. It was a fun moment when they brought that back. Unfortunately, the Magic did not have a fun season, and they will be in the play-in and not hosting the 7-8 game because they lost the Celtics, which meant the Knicks then face the Hawks and the Raptors go play Cleveland. I don't particularly care that the Knicks have to play the Hawks.
But I want to ask you this first.
Are they a better team than Toronto?
Does it matter to you at all? Because you and I have been critical of this team. I think you've been more critical of this team. Does it send any message to you that the Hawks rested their starters? The message that's being sent is they wanted to play the Knicks. And
I don't think that's even what happened. I would have rested everybody if I were them too, because I don't know. I think they did their part. It's reasonable for them to. I mean, these teams aren't stupid. We all knew what these lineups were going to look like. I think anybody would have expected Orlando to come out and handle business against the Celtics, who are quite literally playing guys who have never. They started something called Max Shulga yesterday in their starting lineup. Like, I actually don't think this was about
Shulga. Oh, sorry. We can get our volley on later, but just adding to your point.
Yeah, no, I think that I don't know. I think if they really wanted to game the matchups like this, they could have punted one of the Cavs game that they won on Friday. I don't think that's what it was about. I think that they truly thought Orlando would handle their business. They assumed Toronto, who did handle their business, would handle their business, and that they would play, and that they would probably face Cleveland. And they earned the right to rest everybody because they clinched their playoff spot on Friday. Like, they clinched their top 6 seed. And I think for them, I don't know, if I were somebody in that organization looking at kind of where things stood coming into the season, the moves they've made, everything that's how it's ended up. Like, I don't think I would have given a shit about seeding. I would have been like, this season's a success no matter what we're doing. So I just think it was about keeping guys healthy. I do think it's really funny that the Raptors apparently were like celebrating in their locker room that they don't have to play the Knicks, which makes sense because the Knicks played them 5 times this year and basically destroyed them in every single matchup. So, yeah, I didn't take anything from that. I think I get why people are trying to take that angle. I don't think that's what happened. I truly believe that they just assumed the Magic would take care of business and they'd kind of be locked in to play Cleveland. But obviously, look, again, that's why you play the games. And it's not what happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of the Knicks the Hawks are the kind of team that give the Knicks trouble. They're an athletic team. They have a forward who can guard point guards who's 6'8", long arms. You can't really guard Brunson with a actual guard. So, I mean, I get why, and then of course, a good litmus test for Knicks fans is if someone brings up Trae Young to be like, "This is where we're gonna win." It's like, you do know he's not on the team anymore, and a lot of Hawks fans don't. I think for most Knicks fans, you would have to agree, though, right? You would have rather played the Raptors.
Yeah, I don't even think
we're like 14-0 against them.
They were a great match for us, and we're a terrible match.
And they're also their best player is RJ Barrett, who I don't think either of us are worried about, and I don't think like 95% of Knicks fans are. But I think that's where some of this comes from. I think it's the fact that the Hawks have been playing really well of late. But Mensa from Knicks Films, I believe it was Mensa. But if you look at the actual matchups, the Hawks like to play a paint-bound center to anchor their defense, and Okongwu. They're not going to be able to do that. He has to come out and guard Cat. They have CJ McCollum playing heavy minutes. They're not going to be able to do that. I mean, they have to put him on someone who's going to be able to attack him. That's just the Knicks. Even with Hart, that's just the Knicks starting lineup. So there's just way more ways for the Knicks to attack the Hawks. So I think people want to make it seem like last year's series. And I told you last year, and I said it now, like, I don't think the Pistons had the talent of the Knicks. It was just they foul on every possession. We watched the Michigan basketball championship against UConn. I don't think UConn had the talent of Michigan, but they foul on every possession. It's the Legion of Boom. And it's like, well, they can't call a foul on every possession. And then if you're not used to playing the style, it just becomes a fucking mud fight. But Atlanta's not suited to do that. So I don't think it's going to be like Detroit. I honestly think, and I think that given how much we held back in the regular season, it could be much uglier. And I think if the Knicks players are reading all this shit about, oh, the Hawks are a tough matchup. I mean, I really want to see, I'm going to say this as a side note. I would really want to see Josh Hart come out and tell Chandler Parsons he's a thief. Chandler Parsons is a thief. He stole hundreds of millions of dollars and played like 10 games. And he's talking about Jalen Brunson. That motherfucker should go and count his money and stay the fuck out of any limelight ever. Chandler Parsons is a fucking thief. He barely played for hundreds of millions. Imagine if you got to do that, Shwin. If you got to fucking not do anything for a while, do nothing and get hundreds of millions. That's what Chandler Parsons did. He's making more money now by shitting on Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. So I hope somebody calls him out and ends his fucking this career. It won't matter because he's stolen so much fucking money already. He's basically Jeffrey Epstein. So fuck him. Yeah, I think if you look at the matchups, we should be happy.
Yeah, I think the Hawks are good. I think they're definitely a better team than Toronto. I think Jalen Johnson is an interesting player. I also think he is a player I think his raw box score production is a little bit overrated.
It's also his first playoffs. He'll probably be good one day, but first playoffs is tough for most players.
Yeah, I mean,
Brunson was
I don't care about that, to be honest. I just don't think he has the game for like a half court setting consistently. He thrives when the game's up and down, then get in transition. I don't think they're going to be able to just push the pace, not just because I'm assuming the Knicks will be prepared for that, but also like the game in the playoffs consistently slows down every year. So it's not like exactly a hot take there. His shooting is still very much a up and down proposition, to be generous. His mid-range game is not complete. He doesn't really have a post-up game to speak of. So I don't know. I think that if he's your kind of centerpiece offensively in the playoffs, that can be problematic. Nick Alexander-Walker's playing the best ball of his career. He's probably been the best free agent signing of the year. Do I fully believe that he can carry over what he was doing in March and end of the season in April into the postseason? I don't know. I mean, I think some of the shots he made against us this past week were incredible. I mean, they were really, really tough shots and were great. I would guess if those are the shots that you can force him into taking over the course of a 7-game series, you're going to win out. And he's not going to shoot out of his mind on all of that. And he's not going to hit, I mean, it felt like every 3 he hit in the fourth quarter was a circus shot. They have talent. They're good. I do think they present challenges to the Knicks. Their size is a real thing on the perimeter positions specifically. They are athletic. I think the Knicks have struggled to keep them off the glass. I think that's probably the main thing I would be concerned about. If the Knicks were to lose this series, I am 1,000% sure they will have lost it.
But they're not bigger than us.
No, but they have bigger
and Mitch will
wings
probably play more.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're more active on the glass. They're perimeter guys. Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, even Alexander Walker, compared to like Brunson and Bridges and even OG, who like has moments where he's great on the glass and he has moments where you're like, why did you get 3 rebounds over the last 3 games combined? That's very weird. And the Knicks have struggled to keep them off the glass. They struggled on Monday to keep them off the glass. That was a big reason why Atlanta was able to stay in the game and make it very competitive. If the Knicks were to lose a series, I'm 1,000% sure a main factor will be that they were unable to keep Atlanta off the glass, and they lost the possession battle that way. So if the Knicks take care of their business on the glass, if they just keep the possession battle even, they should win this series. They have better talent. They have better offensive talent.
They will win the shot quality battle. They will get better shot quality.
And even if they don't win the shot quality battle, they have better shot makers. So I just think the Knicks, look, it's the NBA playoffs. Weird things happen. I don't think anybody, or at least not me or you, thought the Knicks were going to beat the Celtics last year, but they did beat the Celtics last year. So like weird things can happen, but you would guess that the Knicks, look, I think they're even being undervalued a little bit by the betting markets here. Like on FanDuel, the Knicks are at minus 245 to win the series. Atlanta's plus 200. I feel like the Knicks are a stronger team, and I think they're not. I don't think they're being treated as such.
So why were all the games so close then, Shwin?
They've played 3 games. How many?
All of them were very close, and they were decided.
One of them was a 12-point loss. The Knicks didn't have Karl-Anthony Towns or Mitchell Robinson. That was also in the middle of that 2-9 stretch where they looked like they all hated each other and didn't want to play basketball.
No, I agree, but this is why I think that line has its, that's why it's.
I mean, I think people over-index a lot on some of this regular season stuff. Like, I don't know how much a game, like this last game they played is probably the only one that you would look at and be like, this might tell us something about their playoff matchup. The previous one that they played against the Hawks, that was before they even traded for CJ McCollum. It was at the end of December. like it was right after the Christmas games. Like I don't know how much that tells you. I'd honestly say it doesn't mean anything. I think two of these games the Knicks played basically mean nothing as far as matching up with this team moving forward. They played the current construction of the Hawks once. It was a 3-point game. It was competitive. I think if the Knicks, again, that's why I talk about the possession battle. I think that if the Knicks had just rebounded at a decent clip, defensive rebound at a decent clip, they would have won that game more comfortably. Obviously, that didn't happen. But they did beat them. The Hawks had a 13-game home winning streak coming into that game, and the Knicks took care of business. This actually kind of works. But the Hawks traded for CJ McCollum. His first game with the Hawks was on January 11th. They won that first game, and then they proceeded to lose 5 in a row after that. 4 in a row after that. And then after they lost 4 in a row, the fourth coming on Martin Luther King Day, when they lost to a shorthanded Bucks team, they went on a run after that. And this works because Martin Luther King Day is also when the Knicks hit their rock bottom of their season and lost to the Mavericks in embarrassing fashion. So if you look at the teams since that point in time, so starting on January 20th onward, the Knicks they are third in the league in net rating since that point. They're at plus 10.3. The Hawks are plus 6.6. The Knicks are 28-11 over that time. The Hawks are 26-11. The Knicks have the 7th best offensive rating in the league since that point in time, 118.5. The Hawks have the 10th best offensive rating in that time, 117. If you look at the defensive rating, the Knicks are the 2nd best defense in the NBA since that time. At 108.2, the OKC Thunder are at 108. So the Knicks are almost right there with Oklahoma City defensively over this time frame. The Hawks are 7th in defensive rating, 110.5. The Hawks are good. They're good. But the Knicks are a superior team, even if it's not extreme. Even if we were to assume the Hawks metrics perfectly capture who they are and the Knicks metrics perfectly capture who they are, the Knicks come out like a superior team. If you look at defensive rebounding, the Knicks are 4th in the NBA over that time frame, 72.7 defensive rebound percentage. This is all on NBA.com, by the way. The Hawks are 8th, 71.2. If we look at offensive rebound percentage, the Knicks are 7th at 32. The Hawks are at 9th, 31.7. Like, basically every single number, the edge goes to the Knicks. True shooting percentage, the Knicks are 6th. The Hawks are 14th. And it's, it's all of this is telling
what
you
about
the Knicks.
Dyson Daniels being able to cut off the head of the snake? Do you buy that?
I think Dyson Daniels can give Brunson trouble. He's given him trouble in moments, but we also know Brunson has cooked him in moments. Like, that's the nature of how matchups are going to go. And yeah, I mean, the two things to keep an eye on for me, the possession battle, the Knicks they've had some struggles here against certain teams to close the season. The Hornets, the Hawks, the Celtics, those 3 games really stand out. So I think that's something that hopefully you would assume the coaching staff is hammering home as they get prepared this week for the game on Saturday at 6 p.m. And then the other thing is the Knicks 3-point shooting, not in terms of percentage. I mean, percentage is whatever. I think it's been down too, but that doesn't worry me so much because the Knicks are a good shooting team. But their 3-point volume has come down a bit in the last few weeks. So, is that a point of emphasis heading into this series for them, or is this something that teams are now successfully taking away? I feel like this isn't quite like last season where you could sense the inability to create 3-point volume and there were all kinds of reasons for it. This feels a little bit like maybe there are guys being hesitant, and it's a matter of recalibrating and just kind of stepping up and taking those shots. I feel better about this team going into the postseason for sure than I did last year. This matchup, I thought the Pistons were a worse matchup for us. I still think they're a bad matchup for us, but I think they were a worse matchup for us last year than the Hawks are for us this year. They don't have anybody for Cat. That's a really big problem. I think our front court is significantly better than theirs, given our centers are healthy and are playing. And they are not a deep team. So unlike Indiana last year, if they are looking for a spark off the bench, there's not a lot of sparks to be looking around for. We'll see if Jock Landale comes back. He's been a good pickup for them. But their bench is really just like, you're talking about Kuminga, you're talking about Jock Landale, and then it's like, they're like trotting out Gabe Vincent out there. Sometimes they give Riza Shea some, burn. They have Muhammad Gay, who is like
let's not. I mean, the last time we faced Gabe Vincent in a playoff series, it didn't go well. So
I'm not interested in that. Happened 3 years ago, and he's barely played basketball since then. If we lose again because Gabe Vincent goes off, that so be it. And they have Muhammad Gay, who's like he's actually like an interesting player to me, but he's not swinging minutes in the front court. So I think this is a fine matchup for the Knicks. It's clearly not the matchup you wanted, gun to your head. I think any Knicks fan would have wanted Toronto. But, you got to be good.
Would you have, if the Knicks played Toronto, I mean, there are people who suggest we should have given the ball to RJ Barrett and gotten rid of Jalen Brunson and made him play off ball, or that might have been a good referendum on that thesis. Are you sure we would have beaten Toronto? They're an athletic team. They got good players.
This is not even a conversation we have. It's not a conversation.
It is funny because I feel like we used to lose to them a lot, and then we got OG, and then we just never lost to them. Maybe it started before that. But I do feel like OG just killed us when he was in Toronto, and then we got him, and now it's never a question. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, no, I mean, that was not going to be a competitive series. And yeah, I mean, I guess it sucks that the Knicks didn't finish. They didn't finish in a slot to get them. I think it's funny that they if they had dropped to 4, they would have played the Raptors, but it's like, this is why I don't think you should ever worry about gaming the seeding. And honestly, look, if the Knicks want to win a championship, a first round matchup should not be frightening to anybody. Especially given the nature. This is not like one of these weird scenarios, right? Where it's like, I don't know, some weird scenario where the Spurs got hurt and then all of a sudden they get healthy at the end of the season and then they sneak in as the 6th seed. This is not a scenario such as that where you're playing a contender who got healthy late in the season and got right. You're just playing a Hawks team who is good, who is talented, who figured some shit out this season, with a strong close to the season. But quite honestly, again, they're not in the Knicks weight class. They're not. And that's not even a knock on them. It's just reality. The Knicks should be beating this Hawks team. And if they don't, it's a failure. It's a massive failure. If the Knicks lost to the Hawks, it's a bigger Knicks failure than it is a Hawks success. And I'm saying that while I'm acknowledging how massive of a success that would be for the Hawks. It would be a much bigger failure on the Knicks because the Knicks are the superior basketball team. They have the 2 best players in the series. They have, everybody on this team is in their prime. Literally all of them. You're getting career best shooting effectively from Josh Hart. OG Anunoby's been really good lately. Mikal Bridges, offensively, he's been very, very inconsistent, but defensively, I think he's had a very strong season. Deuce McBride's shot the shit out of the ball. He's having a career year. Mitchell Robinson is probably playing maybe the best ball of his career. You're
not a career shooting season, but there isn't.
Never a great shooting season. But your top 7-8 is great. I mean, it's really good. It's championship worthy.
Mitchell Robinson comes off the bench. That's kind of a big deal. If that guy played 35 minutes, that's an all-star. Or if you know, say all-star, in the 80s, that's the fucking kind of guy that nobody wants. That's the kind of guy that would make Bill Laimbeer shit his pants. So, and he comes off the bench for us. So, yeah,
it's a huge deal. It's a really, really big deal. And I mean, look, since the Hawks, they've been really good. Here's who they've beaten since the All-Star break. You tell me how many of these wins you would be like, oh wow, that's a really impressive win, or even a good win. They won at Philadelphia. I believe in this game, Joel Embiid did not play.
But Max and George did?
No, Embiid didn't play. Paul George didn't play. The Sixers starting lineup in this game was Maxey, Edgecombe, Oubre, Andre Drummond, and Dominic Barlow. So you tell me how impressive that wins, and I'm going to keep going here. So they beat the Sixers. They lose by 31 to the Heat. They beat Brooklyn, beat Washington again, beat Portland at home, destroyed them 135-101. In this game, Portland, they started Monty Kamara, Donovan Clingan, Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, Chris Murray. So no Denny Avdia, among others. They beat Milwaukee, beat Philadelphia, beat Dallas, beat Brooklyn, beat
Milwaukee by how much did they have Giannis?
They did not. I mean, I actually don't care. I'm not even gonna bother looking at it because they fucking suck this entire year, regardless whether Giannis played or not. Where am I at here?
You're after second Milwaukee.
They beat Milwaukee. They beat Orlando, who has been absolutely pitiful to close this year. Beat Dallas, lost to Houston, beat Golden State, beat Memphis, beat the Pistons in overtime on the road. This was no
without
Cade. No Cade.
But Detroit has been playing well without Cade.
Yeah, I still think that's an impressive victory. Then they lost to Boston on the road, beat the Kings, beat Boston at home. This was a no Tatum game. I think that's still a pretty solid win. Beat the Magic, beat Brooklyn, lose to the Knicks, lose to the Cavs, beat the Cavs, who rested Mitchell and Jared Allen, I believe, in that game, if I remember correctly. And then got smoked in the last game against Miami, a game in which they rested everybody. I think they have 3 good wins in that schedule.
I got 6 up, but how many games was that? 20?
It's like whatever. Well, I mean, after All-Star break is after the All-Star break is, I'll tell you right now, it is 26 games.
I give them 6, but I think probably counting some Orlando ones that you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would not count Orlando as Orlando. Maybe
not been a murderer's row. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, I just think I think they're good. I think they have benefited from playing a very weak schedule. I think they've also benefited from they needed these wins to get that top 6 seed. They were not obviously a top 6 seed coming out of the All-Star break. They needed to make up ground, and they've been pedal to the metal to close the season to get that done. And I'm not going to knock them for that, but I do think that there's something to I don't know that they have an extra gear. I actually don't think they have an extra gear because they've been playing as hard as they can to get these wins. And that's a credit to them. They deserve all of that. But we have seen what it looks like when when you're one of these teams where it's, oh yeah, we're just, everything is getting poured into this so that we can make the playoffs. And then you get there and then you have nothing left. They feel very much like the 2020, 2021 Knicks to me, more talented, more well-rounded, but similar type of team where
they also revolve around a power forward creator who isn't.
Yeah, they have better guard play given after they got McCollum and Nickeil Alexander-Walker taking off. But I agree, it is a similar thing in that sense. And I mean, I watched them play against the Cavs, and I watched them play against us. And I mean, the Cavs game that might have been the worst game Jalen Johnson has played all season. Maybe, I don't know. I don't watch the Hawks every night, but if anybody caught that game, I mean, he was a fucking disaster. I didn't actually think he was all that great against the Knicks in our game. He had 21 points on 19 shots, 5 assists, 5 turnovers.
It just seems like we have answers for him. OG is kind of an answer for him to begin with. We can switch Bridges onto him. We can switch Cat onto him. He doesn't seem like a very unsolvable problem for us in the way that maybe Giannis might be or something like that. Not yet. Yeah, I do like Jalen Johnson a lot. I'm not ripping on him, but I don't fear him that way yet.
Yeah, no, and I just think that I think the Knicks have things that they can throw at the Hawks that they don't really have great personnel or matchups for. Like, you're not going to play double big all the time, but I do think like the fact that the Knicks do have a double big lineup, like I don't really know how the Hawks play against that. I don't know how they would match up against that. I'm not sure that they have great answers for it. You talk about the
do
wings,
they have a good answer for Mitchell Robinson? Period. Sorry, I don't think. I think I came against Okongwu. Like I don't think anyone on the Hawks
I think
keep up class.
I would say their answer is to like they're probably gonna have to make him a central focus the game plan and like box him out with multiple guys and make sure that you can keep. But we've seen Mitchell Robinson like that isn't enough to just keep him off the glass alone. He commands that type of attention and he can still capitalize even when you do give it to him. So look, the Knicks are just to me they're a superior basketball team, and that's not a fucking hot take. It's just reality. Like I get why there are people that are nervous about this matchup that really, it's, oh my God, it sucks that we didn't get to play. And I agree, it does suck that we didn't get to play with the Raptors because the Raptors, to me, honestly, I think they've had a great season considering what they had going on last year.
You like Quickly in his role.
That would have been 2 week. That would have been like a 2 week training camp for the Knicks. Like it was not going to be, and in 2 weeks might be generous. That series might have been over in 4. I mean, in 4. Like really, it could have been a sweep. So
the series is over after the starting lineups are introduced on game 1. That like RJ is coming on the floor knowing they're not going to win. He played with Jalen Brunson. He knows he's not going to win.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, look, it is what it is. But the Hawks, they're not, again, it's not like you didn't draw like some team loaded with like Hall of Famers or something like that. Like they're a good team, they're a talented team, but they're not undefeatable or present challenges the Knicks have no way to combat. Like the Knicks beat the Celtics last year. Okay. Like the Celtics were a legit 61 win team, whatever the fuck they were. And the Knicks beat them with basically the same team. So we can, again, you know, like, not that it matters what we say, but like you hope the team isn't sitting there like, oh, this team is a joke, they're beneath us, and like not focused. You have to take them seriously. You have to give them the proper respect. I think I'm not really that worried about the Knicks overlooking them, but yeah, I mean, I think this is a fine first round matchup. And would it be nice to get one of these cupcakes one of these years? Sure, that'd be great, but it wasn't in the cards, and it's okay. I mean, I think there's a value to playing a competitive first round series if that's what it takes. So
yeah, on that note, do you think the series against Detroit last year helped us? Do you think that was part of what made the Knicks able to beat Detroit? And the series against Detroit, do you think that helped? I mean, because we had 2 pretty outlier comebacks against Boston, which required obviously a lot of mental resolve, obviously shot making and all, some luck. Obviously, I'm not going to discount that, but do you think that helped last year that we had to play such a tough first round series, which I think both of us found extremely frustrating? Me, I thought they should have swept Detroit, and I was very upset about it. Do you think that helped, and do you think that contributed maybe to beating Detroit? But beating Boston?
I don't know how much stock I put into that. I think it doesn't hurt. I don't think it hurts to play a competitive first round series. Maybe it caught up to the Knicks later because it did feel like they had less in the tank as that Pacers series went on.
You think that game 1 was because of that, or are you just saying it over the course of the series?
No, over the course of the series, I'm saying.
So the game one, that was just a weird fucking thing. I think
that was its own thing that hopefully never happens again. But no, I think. As that series went on, you could see the Knicks were not as fresh as Indiana, and maybe, that's the price you pay for having a competitive first-round series and a competitive second-round series. And, making these 20-point comebacks are really cool, but they take something out of you as well. So, I don't know. I wouldn't say that playing Detroit prepared us better for Boston, but, like, I also think that it can be difficult if you have a first round matchup that's like a total joke, and then you go into round 2, and then all of a sudden you're playing like an actual good basketball team. I think they have struggled with that a bit last year, where their first round matchup was against Miami, who was that series was a joke. Every game was like an absolute blowout. And I think it was a little bit challenging for them to go from that to then all of a sudden you're playing the Pacers, who are like actually good and like have a real offense and have actual talent, and that can be challenging. Obviously, they had injury issues of their own, but yeah, I mean, I think you do want there to be some level of challenge in the first round. And maybe the Raptors would have hit that threshold anyway or whatever, but the Hawks are certainly a more challenging opponent than the Hawks would be, at least for the Knicks. And yeah, it is what it is. I'm fine with that. I haven't had a chance yet to rewatch the game from Monday. I did not expect that the Knicks were going to play the Hawks again in the playoffs, but they are, so I will have to rewatch that. But I think there's some interesting things that you can take from that game. The two biggest observations, and I'm interested to see if these things even stay consistent. The first is that the Hawks defended Karl-Anthony Towns with a traditional center that entire game. Onyeka Okongwu, that was his assignment, so they did not put a center on Hart, and they stayed fairly attached to Josh Hart. I don't know if that's how they are going to proceed in a series. That's obviously not the way that we have seen most quality teams approach defending Josh Hart. I do think that the Knicks have shown in this past week in those games against Atlanta and Boston that they do have some solutions, even when teams do put a center on Hart, and making that work. But that would be a challenge for the Knicks. And then the other thing I thought that was pretty cool was, the Knicks flipped the script on Atlanta, and they had Karl-Anthony Towns was effectively defending Dyson Daniels, and he was just aggressively helping off of him. And that was an interesting dynamic as well. So I'm interested. I'm definitely curious to see how both of the coaches approach this. But what I actually want to talk about more than just the X's and O's of the matchup itself is I think that over the last week and a half or whatever, Jalen Brunson has seemed to find a good equilibrium of searching for his offense while making sure that other guys are involved, especially early in games. In that Atlanta game, he closed really strong, but he spent most of the first three quarters, really, his shot was off. He missed a lot of good looks, but his playmaking was really solid throughout the game, especially early. He got a lot of guys touches. He got a lot of guys involved. Karl-Anthony Towns and him, the pick and roll that we have been like, what the fuck is going on with this? Why can't we ever run pick and rolls with them? Why can't we, weaponize this thing that should be dominant? Well, we're starting to see that be dominant in critical spots. In that Hawks game, in that Celtics game, when the Knicks needed buckets late in the contest, they were able to get them running that pick and roll. So there's some interesting reasons, I think, for that, for why all of a sudden we've seen this be successful. But more than anything, I'm just happy to see Brunson, I think, find that a better balance between looking to score and needing to be a table setter and creator for the team. And I also think Brunson now looks physically sharper than he did at various points during the second half of the season. I think his burst seems like it's back. And so maybe he was just kind of not pushing himself too much earlier in the season. But yeah, it's just great to see that. And it couldn't have asked. Those two guys are operating at a high level. And if they're not, and they need both those guys to be operating at a high level in combination with each other, not just separately as independent kind of players on their own.
Yeah, I think you kind of, it's not like Brunson has played unselfishly for much of this year. It's never like Brunson and Cat as the pick and roll game has just not been what you would, and that is like, that's like if you have Pat Mahomes and I don't know, Jamar Chase or Tyreek Hill, and you're like, well, they just can't get the deep ball together. They can't get the slant together, right? Just a very basic thing that should just work. And that's what's interesting now, and what most people aren't seeing. But it's like Brunson is finding, like, we have screamed for you and me, but that's every Knicks fan. Why can't Brunson find him on the pick and pop? There's so many times. He's finding him now. And they are like, that's, I think you nailed the hammer on the head, that it's not just them individually being good. We don't want them to be Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. We want them to be, well, Shaq and Kobe, or a facsimile of that, where they're amplifying each other.
I think not exactly the same, because Jokic is Jokic, but like Jamal Murray and Jokic combined, right?
That is, and that's all. That is our, but I would say the point is they're amplifying each other, right? So, and I think that we're seeing that now, and that should scare everybody in the league, because I think that's what's held them back so far. That those two have never been on the same page, and if they are now, like they look to be, forget Atlanta. If you live in any state that doesn't have the lowest literacy in the country, then you should be worried. The one state with the lowest literacy in the country should be worried. Doesn't have to be worried, because they are Oklahoma. But every other city, every other NBA team should be.
Yes, that was a very convoluted way of getting there, but I'm happy you stuck the landing at the end. What I'll ask you is this: there's been a lot of talk throughout the year that this team is extremely inconsistent, that they are volatile, they play up and they play down to their competition. I don't know how strongly I agree with those sentiments, but they do exist. I guess, one, do you subscribe to the idea that the Knicks are more volatile maybe than other teams that profile as contenders? And we can just name the teams we think are contenders, right? OKC, San Antonio, Boston, whatever, Cleveland, Detroit, Denver. Like, if those teams, you view them as contenders, like, do you think that there is something to the Knicks being more volatile than them? And how concerned would you be about that hanging in the playoffs? And I guess, do you think that there's been any change, at the end of the season to allay any concerns you do have about it? That maybe they figured some stuff out that gives them, a better baseline more consistently, while still having those really high peaks that we have seen this season, right? Like in blowouts of San Antonio and Denver and things of that nature.
Well, on the third question, I think the biggest thing is Cat and Brunson. So I think it's worth talking about what you think might have changed. Is it just a light bulb going on? So your first question, compared to the other teams, I think it's very much a correlation to, do you have something to prove? I know this is not going to be taken well, but I think you might not agree. But in terms of consistency, I think Oklahoma City has been just as inconsistent as us. They're just better. I think the other teams all had something to prove. San Antonio, this was their first year being good. They have a guy who wants to establish. Look, I know people have polarizing views on Wemby, but he wants to be on the track to establish himself as the best player ever. He wants to be better than Michael Jordan or LeBron James, whoever. You and me on the same page, but there's some people who say LeBron James, so I'm including this in conversation. That's who he wants to be, and that's who his teammates want. Like, they want to be a great team. Detroit.
I too would like if somebody on my team wanted to become Michael Jordan and have the ability to do it. That would be great. I would be very happy about that.
Well, I think we have a guy who's trying to do that. He is 6'1", but the point is, this was their first year, right? Detroit, first year being like this, they wanted to go all out. Like, I think that, like, I know it's a very unpopular answer, but this team has been doing it for several years, and they've been a contender every year. They just are where they are. and I think we feel it, right? Like the conversation around this team is the same thing in the regular season. The starting lineup sucks. What else do we do? Play harder. Like it's not going to matter until the playoffs. Like it's the same conversation. Whereas these other teams are trying to establish themselves. In terms of inconsistency, a lot of it is playing worse against bad teams. I take how we played against good teams, and I think that was better than last year.
There's no think about it. It absolutely was better.
I mean, as well, OKC we didn't win, but we played like we looked like we belong along the same floor. Maybe we won't beat them in those series, but that was important to me. Detroit is its own thing. I think you kind of, I mean, that's fair. But like we beat San Antonio, we beat Cleveland. We didn't beat Cleveland's the series, but we beat Boston in the regular season series. We played against good teams well. Detroit is its own thing, and I have no idea what to make of that, to be honest, at this point. Just because I just don't. I still feel like we're the better team. But it's different from last year, and I think it's just, yeah. I mean, I'd have to throw this back to Shwin. If you're going to disagree with this, I'd have to say you asked me earlier in the season, the Eagles were playing like shit. Like, are they just bored? And I think that's what the Knicks are. And you can say people get mad because you're like, well, the Knicks haven't actually won anything, right? Like, people shit on Deuce McBride because he was like, well, when you've been in the playoffs every year, you take your foot off the gas. He said something to that effect. And people were like, you haven't won anything yet. And it was like, first of all, Deuce McBride is the last person you should, like, that guy goes fucking balls to the wall all the time. But also it's like, yeah, it's been 5 or 6 years. They know that they could have the most amazing season ever. They're only going to be judged on the playoffs. So in terms of consistency, I don't judge them on that. I judge them on how did you look against the best teams. And they were like a B+, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think it's really debatable that they have certainly let their foot off the gas at various points in the regular season, much to everybody's chagrin, and that includes myself. But like I've been, aside from that stretch where they went 2-9, I mean, I still kind of that to me is beyond just like that was beyond just like we let our foot off the gas. That was just absurd to like watch them play during that stretch. I think there was more going on there than just boredom of the regular season. I think there was Giannis stuff being discussed behind the scenes. I don't know if you remember, but if kind of like a week prior to the trade deadline, there was a report that came out that like the Knicks aren't actually that interested in trading for Giannis. I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think that was an accident. I think they needed to get that out there, that there were guys in the team that were kind of like looking over their shoulder and like, am I really going to be here or not? And I think there was some drama going on. Anyway, they definitely have taken their foot off the gas at that point, and they did that 2-9 stretch. And then just recently, right, where they had that stretch of games, they smoked Denver. They have a couple games in LA. They don't play that well in those games. They drop both of them. And then they had this run where they win 7 in a row, but it's all these fucking bullshit teams. There's a 1-point victory over like the worst Nets team that you could ever conceive of in that stretch. And it just, you can tell.
The Nets Super Bowl, though, right? Like, who is it?
Yeah, no, of course. But the Knicks put up 93 points. Like, I don't care whose Super Bowl it is. Like, you put up 93 points. It's not a good look. And like they were not playing. It was very evident during that stretch that like they were not firing on all cylinders. They were definitely not maintaining their focus, especially on the defensive end of the floor. There was some slippage in terms of, their commitment to executing offensively. There was a lot of just like bad shot selection, guys hijacking offense to kind of just do whatever they wanted. And, the results were there to everybody to see. And then the moment they played, that they had to step up and play actual good teams again, they really struggled. They had a pretty bad, and I don't want to say a bad loss to Charlotte, but it was a loss where they were comprehensively beaten, they were absolutely the second best team on that day. Charlotte deserved to win that game, and they did win that game. They lost to Oklahoma City. That game, actually, they played pretty well. They got a shitty whistle.
And Charlotte was on a fucking heater at the time, too, we should say.
Yeah, it is what it is. I don't think – I know there were people that were pissed after that game. I think if you're pissed after that game, you need to get a fucking lobotomy. And then they got absolutely – I mean, that game against the Rockets was pathetic. The start of the game was pathetic. They were not able to close the gap all the way and make a comeback. They lost that game. I mean, it was just bad. And the starting lineup was malfunctioning very, very heavily. It didn't feel good. And, they were able to kind of find themselves here again to close the season. And hopefully that is a sign of them getting their shit together after maybe taking their eye off the ball for a little bit.
What if they don't have to get their shit together, but their shit together was always there, but they just also didn't show up to class every day? What if they're the kid that's going to get a 4-0 on the final, but
no, they definitely coasted in the regular season at various points. I don't think that's deniable, and you can be upset about it if you want. Like, I don't.
No, you definitely can, and I think it's reasonable because it could come back to bite them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely reasonable, but I also they're not the first team in NBA history to take a couple of weeks for granted and then be like, all right, we got to get our shit together here. That happens. I'm sorry that they didn't approach the regular season with the focus of the Detroit Pistons or have the just endless depth of a team like Oklahoma City that can just wave after wave and overcome injuries and it is what it is. But when they have faced off against top opposition, their record is much better this year. People can poo-poo it all you want. I think the NBA Cup, not because they won the NBA Cup, but because who they beat in the final and the way they beat that team in the final in the San Antonio Spurs, I think that does matter. I think it matters. They lost to the Spurs in San Antonio, but I think that
dominated most of the game and
they scored. I mean, the first half they scored at will basically against the Spurs. They've basically diced up the Spurs offensively 3 times this year.
And Wemby has played. There was no minutes limit on any of those, right?
I think the Cup final is weird because he's coming back from the injury, so he's coming off the bench. But even then, they lost his minutes, right? It wasn't like Wemby came in and was like, oh man, if he had played 35, you'd have been screwed. He doesn't even play 35 minutes anyway. The guy fucking plays 29 minutes a night or whatever. So anyway, the point is
winning Wemby's minutes is a pretty fucking big deal because most teams don't do that.
So if you look at those Spurs games, you look at the games against Oklahoma City where they've lost those, but you feel good about them. I agree with you. The Detroit ones, I mean, we've talked about them plenty. Those are just weird. I do think that they are a particularly bad matchup for us. Do I think the Knicks can beat them? Yes, I do think the Knicks can beat them, but I do think they are, at least in terms of the way they can defend the Knicks, I think they are the toughest matchup for the Knicks.
I do want to talk about Detroit as it pertains to Atlanta, but go ahead.
And we've beaten Boston. The Knicks beat Boston 3 out of 4. I understand that we didn't play them when they had Tatum and Brown, except we did do that last year in the playoffs. It was a great time. Hopefully everybody remembers that.
Well, what would you say to the idea that their Celtics are better? Pritchard is better, and they're better with Pritchard instead of Drew. I mean, I talk to people who say they're better with Pritchard instead of Drew. And
who are these people? Can I rob them? They sound like fucking idiots. They sound like people that I should probably rob and steal money from. Because if you truly believe this Celtics team is as good as last year's Celtics team, you are stupid. And you shouldn't be allowed to vote in America.
They bet lots of money on basketball. So,
well, I hope that whatever book that they're betting on robs them during the playoffs this year. That's what I hope happens. Because
but they're in Washington State, so they'll vote the right way anyway. But yeah,
but no, anybody that thinks the Celtics team is as good as last year's team is on crack. Absolutely not. Is Pritchard better than he was last year? Maybe.
I think Pritchard is a better offensive player than Drew.
I don't know. Drew's had a pretty good offensive season.
Do you think Pritchard for this offense? I'm really playing devil's advocates here because I do agree with you. Do you think Pritchard, in the way the offense functions right now, with Jalen having to take that step, with them having to did adversity make them stronger in a way that maybe they are better than last year?
No, they're not better than last year. What? There's not even a reason to think they're better than last year. They have a worse record. They have a worse net rating. Like everything about them, they have worse talent. Like you went from your front court having, okay, Porzingis was weird because he had all this shit going on. They had Horford, they had Porzingis, they still had Kata last year. They had Cornette, who was a good player and still is a good player for the Spurs. Like that front court wasn't better. You had Tatum, who was absolutely at full strength last year, who wasn't coming off an Achilles rupture, and Tatum has had good moments coming off the Achilles tear since he's returned. I think it's very obvious that he has not hit that level of what he was prior to the injury consistently, and I don't think he's going to
be like a top 20 player. I would say
I don't think he looked like a top 20 player against the Knicks, and that's fine. Like he's coming off a pretty serious injury, and to have some up and down to his game while he's dealing with that is absolutely normal. And he deserves a lot of credit for coming back this season off that injury. He could have easily just been like, yeah, I'm going to take the year off here. So I'm not even shitting on him for it, but he is not at the level that he was at last year, which I thought was his best season as a pro. Is Jaylen Brown better this year than he was last year? I don't know. Is he? Or is he just getting to shoot a lot more and like getting the accolades for that?
He's been pretty efficient.
Yeah, that's good for him. I could probably be efficient too if I could elbow people in the face every time I drive to the rim.
No, but I mean, you would think that Jaylen Brown's game would die without Tatum.
I would think a lot of things
happened.
I would think a lot of things, and I think that Derek White has shot like crap this year. Is that concerning? I don't know. I don't know what to make of that because I still kind of like feel like you're still going to defend him like he's a good shooter, so that has value to it, even if he's not connecting at the same level. But at some point, you got to make shots. He's not hit shots at the same level. He's had a bigger workload this year. That's something to keep an eye on. And he's had a big workload for a couple of years. They've made long runs, right, in the playoffs for a while now. We're talking about a team that went finals, Eastern Conference finals, second round last year. We'll see where they go. So they've put on a lot of miles in this team. So maybe that's catching up to him. I don't know. And yeah, you lost Drew Holiday, which I don't care what anybody says. Like that was a big deal. He was the best guy on that team at defending Jalen Brunson. Like they don't have anybody that can defend Jalen Brunson. No one. Not a single guy on that team is a guy that you're like, oh yeah, he can get. This is a great matchup for us. I genuinely think we are a bad matchup for Boston this year, and that they are a worse team. So can they still come out of the East? Sure. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. I'm not dismissing the possibility they could win the East. I am dismissing the idea that they're like this clear-cut favorite and, we should be mortified of playing them. If anything, I'm looking forward to playing them because I think the Knicks have a chance to send them a message. But, look, I think they've had a great year. Joe Mazzulla deserves a ton of credit. He's probably going to win Coach of the Year. I think he's a deserved candidate for it. It's really, to me, between him and our good friend in Detroit, JB Bickerstaff. I would give it to Mazzulla. I think he's exceeded expectations more and, cool. But regular season playoffs, like there's a difference. There's a real difference between those things. And Boston obviously has pedigree in the postseason. They've won a championship. They've been to a finals. But I would also say that Boston has underachieved at various points during this what we'll call the Tatum era. It's not always been like, oh, they hit the expectations or they never get upset. Like they lost in the bubble to Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. That was a series they were favorites to win. They went 7 games in the round before that against the Raptors. That was a series they were heavily. I don't want to say like crazy heavy, but they were strong favorites to win that series too. That went 7. The next year they just have a kind of a gap year. We'll call it. It was an off year for them. The year after that is they go to the finals. They're the favorites in the East. They're pretty big favorites against Miami in the conference finals. That goes 7, and they're like a Jimmy Butler Hail Mary 3 away from getting knocked out in a conference finals series that they really should have never even. It should have been long done. Don't let I know Miami was the 1 seed that year, but don't let those things fool you. Like Boston was the favorite, and they had clearly more talent, as we've seen now in the time since then. The year after that is, they lose. Then they lost in the finals to Golden State, but then the year after that, they lose in the conference finals to Miami in a series that they go down 3-0. And then they lose game 7 at home. Tatum gets hurt early, but they lost that series. And that was a series they were heavy favorites in. They win the championship the following year. You got to give them credit for winning the championship. Their path was not the most inspiring path you've ever seen. It was not the most difficult journey, but they won that, so credit to them. And then last year they lost as heavy favorites. I mean, this is like a massive favorite. I think the Knicks were like plus 900 or something going into that series. They lose that series. So this is a team that, yes, they've won a championship. Yes, they've made a finals. Yes, they've been to numerous conference finals. But as great as they've always looked in the regular season, as strong as their metrics have been, they have rarely played to that same level of dominance in the postseason.
Yeah, but do you think straight up the Knicks are better than the Celtics?
Yes. I straight up think the Knicks are better than the Celtics this year. Like, yes. Absolutely, 100%.
Will we have the best player on the floor?
Yes, we saw it last year. We had the best player on the floor last year.
But as you've said many times, the best player on the floor last year has not played like himself this year.
But as I've also said,
and their second best player has played like, you may not agree, but like an All NBA player. So
that's cute. I'm very happy for him. Hope he gets some MVP votes, some pity MVP votes out of that. That'd be nice for him.
Are you still taking RJB over there, JB? And I mean, last year, JB versus JT was the question, and this year it shouldn't be, right?
I mean, I don't think that was ever a real question. Or I don't know.
Jalen Brunson versus Jason Tatum? That was a question. I mean, that was they played that game 5. They were awesome together.
At the end of the day, no, the Knicks are a better team, man. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what this conversation is right now, but the Knicks are a better team. Their front court shits on the Celtics front court. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to take Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm going to take Mitchell Robinson. And if you're going to put Neemias Queta out there, you're going to put Nikola fucking Vucevic and Luka Garza. Like, yeah, I'm taking the Knicks. The Knicks have the better end of game, crunch time, ball handling, scoring option. They have the wings that can at least challenge.
We should rebound like 40% of our offensive rebounds, right? If we have Cat and Mitch out
the
there.
Celtics are a great rebound. That's like one of their strengths.
Mitch. But if you're talking about the front court, though, like the Cavs were a great rebounding team too, but
no, they were never a great. They were not a great rebounding team. They still are.
The year we shit on them, they were.
Yeah, they were not. They were not. That was a weakness for them going into that series. That's why it was such a bad matchup for them.
But then why are you harping on the front court then? Because the whole thing,
because defense is part of it, size is part of it. Karl-Anthony Towns is like a dynamic scoring option in the front court. Neemias Queta is a nice, cute story that's going to make a nice career for himself.
The way we do that usually is Mitch and Cat just shitting on dudes on the glass.
Yeah, but Karl-Anthony Towns shits on teams in a very different way than Mitchell Robinson.
He also shits on them on the glass. Like, I think that is
but that's too. Come on, Stacy, come on. Karl-Anthony Towns is the reason he's awesome is because of offensive rebounding.
No. That is a big deal, and especially when he's with Mitch, that is where, like, that's fun.
And we haven't even really tapped into those lineups. Like, are you? I mean, are you genuinely trying to argue with me that the Celtics front court is comparable? Like, that's not a massive advantage for the Knicks?
No, I'm saying I'm curious. Do you actually think rebounding is not a big advantage for us?
They've out rebounded in 3 of the games, I believe. So I don't like they're a good rebounding
or actually like just they missed more.
No, but it's not their bigs, it's their wings, it's their perimeter guys that are getting these rebounds and hurting us. It's not the bigs, but yeah, I think this is a great matchup for the Knicks. I think we are their worst matchup in the East. And I don't think they want to see us. I like maybe they want to see us because Jaylen Brown still thinks it's like 2019 and David Fizdale's running around the sideline.
So that's a weird
playing lineups that don't make any fucking sense. And we have Bobby Portis out there at the 5 or something. But no, I think the Knicks are a bad matchup for them. They couldn't defend Brunson last year. Derek White's a really great defender as an off-ball guy. When he has to defend the ball, he's not that good. And again, we saw that last year. Jalen Brunson cooked him. Mikal Bridges cooked him. Like nothing has changed there. He didn't suddenly go in the offseason and become a great on-ball defender. That's still a problem for them. Jason Tatum is not the same level of player that he was last year.
And he wasn't guarding Brunson anyway. So
yeah, but just as a help defender, as all these things, he's not been as good. He's rebounding the shit out of the ball. I do think some of that is intentional because he can't roam and cover space the way he maybe could last year, or at least not yet. But yeah, I think
I do want to harp on this because you have said often that our biggest advantage is the front court. But if you don't think the biggest advantage is rebounding, like Mitch is not a skilled offensive player. Even Cat is not a great ISO player. Like Cat gets his
rebounding is not just a individual. Like, it's not like Mitch versus.
I get that, but I also think that if you think they're a great rebounding team, like if you don't think rebounding is an advantage for us, that kind of diminishes the belief I have in our front court versus there, because that is a big part of our front court because both of our bigs are insanely good rebounders. That's a big part of it, right?
I just don't actually think that Karl-Anthony Towns' offensive rebounding it's good.
Wow.
It's nice.
No, it's really good. It's not but that's because the other stuff he does well is really good.
That's my point. It's like I don't need
Mitch, that's the thing, right? They fucking kill you on the glass.
But I don't need Karl-Anthony Towns to be a killer on the glass against the Celtics. Like he can beat them without that because they don't have a good matchup for him. Who are they guarding him with? You put a center on him. That's we know
he'll been able to drive around centers. He seems to have lost a step, right?
I don't agree. Have you been watching him lately? He destroyed Nemias Queta. He made him look like a fucking buffoon in that game. He destroyed Onyeka Okongwu. And Okongwu's obviously Towns has a size advantage there, but in terms of quickness, Okongwu's one of the faster, quicker centers in the league. Towns fried him. They don't have a good matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns.
And then healthier over the year. Does that?
I think so. It looks like it to me. I mean, I don't know what happened. Maybe he lost weight or something. I have no fucking clue. He looks better though. And then, this idea that they're going to run. They have these small, but you're going to put Tatum at the 5? I don't think that works for them at all. I don't think they have the personnel for it.
No,
and quite frankly, Mazzulla has not played. He likes having a center on the floor. Last year in the postseason, when we faced off against them, I don't think he ran a single possession of that series. Maybe garbage time in Game 6 or in Game 4 when they were up big, he did. But I don't remember any meaningful possession where they didn't have a big on the floor. I don't remember a single meaningful possession this year where they don't have a big on the floor. He isn't going to just randomly not play a 5 and have Tatum at center and play small ball. They're not built for that. They don't have the personnel for that, I don't think. And yeah, I think Baylor Shireman has developed nicely for them. I'm very comfortable turning a game into a Baylor Shireman game or whatever. I'm pretty confident the Knicks are a better team than them. I think the Knicks have their 8 is better than the Celtics' top 8. Jason Tatum is not the Jason Tatum of last year. Jaylen Brown, nice regular season. I don't fully buy him as a strong.
Is he Julius Randle? Is he just Julius Randle?
No, he's better than Julius, unfortunately.
But it's the same topic, right? Good regular season, don't care about you in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just don't think his regular season's been as great as people think it is. Jalen Brunson's had by far his worst season in New York in terms of efficiency. He's got a higher true shooting percentage, a higher effective field goal percentage than Jaylen Brown.
But Jaylen Brown was building a team Brunson had Cat. Brown did not have anyone else.
Brunson has put up better numbers this year with Cat off the floor. So I don't know how much that actually matters. But Brunson shoots better from 3. Brunson shoots better from the free throw line. Brunson shoots better from the field. Jaylen Brown's had a nice year. I think the year he's had is getting way too much gas for what it actually is. He's 5.1 assists to 3.6 turnovers. Like, that's a pretty bad margin for your top
worse
option.
Than Julius. A lot worse than Julius.
Yeah. Like,
put it in context for the listeners.
Yeah. I think it's a really, they can be the favorite. I'm fine with them being the favorite. If that's what people think, it's fine. But like this idea
if Jaylen Brown wasn't so good, then why did they win so much? Is it because
Joe Mazzulla was a great coach and they tried really hard in the regular season? Like, I don't think it's that complex. You can win a lot of games just by trying really hard and being focused and being disciplined in the regular season. And they are really disciplined. They are really
relaxed,
focused.
Tom. But yeah. But we know this. We won 41 games out of the 72 with our second best player being Reggie Bullock. Rose, fine. But
yeah, like you can win a lot of games just by being focused. Like, it doesn't change that you need top end talent to win. And yeah, Jason Tatum is really good. Is he going to be back to his best all of a sudden? I really would be surprised. And again, like, I agree with you. It's not like he looks bad, but he does not look like the player he did last year or prior to his injury. Jaylen Brown is, to me, looks basically like the same player. I genuinely do not understand this idea that like he took some fucking leap this year. He took a leap in giving like really corny quotes. That's about it.
If you paid attention, it wasn't much of a leap, by the way.
Yeah, but. and like the rest of their team, like, yeah, maybe Peyton Pritchard's better. I don't know. I not watched them enough to like year to year to have a strong thought on Peyton Pritchard's, whether he's improved or not. But he's been good for sure. Derek White's good, even despite the shooting struggles. Like, they still have good players. They're well coached. Again, they're disciplined. They play hard. Joe Mazzulla gets them to play hard. How much of those advantages stay the same when you get into the playoffs? And like, you're not going to get to, play a team that's kind of like, not fully focused on the game plan. Maybe you didn't read the scouting report that the coaches are handing out before the game. And to people who think that doesn't happen, I guarantee it happens, because we've literally heard Mike Brown in post-game press conferences be like, yeah, well, we didn't play the scouting report. Well, what do you think happened? Guys are just like, fuck it, I'm not going to look at this shit. And that's obviously just, it's a different level of concentration in the post.
Like, there's this clip, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's this clip from Bob Myers talking. He was at the Sloan Sports Analyst Conference. And he's talking with Paul Pierce, and he was like saying, like, yeah, Paul, I'm sure, like, if it was a regular season game, you're just like, who's this guy I'm guarding? I don't care. But in the playoffs, if you go left, like, if you know that the guy can't go left, then it's just like a guy can't hit down and away. All he's getting is down and away. So it's just a different level of preparation. And that's what I've been saying for this team. Like, I think they're just there for, 2 years now. And like, we put a lot of that on Tibbs last year. Some of that's just like, they've been there before. They know that all that matters is the postseason. You're just not going to get up for a regular season game the same way. Whereas I think like the teams that did really well this year all had something to prove, or they were OKC, where it's just like, they're just awesome. But yeah, like, I think that's a reason to be high on Denver, because Denver has the most fucking senioritis star player ever, where it's like, I'm going to show up when it matters. And in the summer, I'm going to fucking race horses. I'm going to root for Piamai. That is Denver's star. And he's also the best player in the game. So, but in the playoffs, it isn't the same thing. So, and that's reason to bet on some of these other teams, I think. But we'll see, and maybe that's, maybe the ant and the grasshopper analogy will come back to get me, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, like, I don't know if the Knicks have a higher gear than other teams, but I think I would say them and Cleveland have had, for differing reasons, are maybe they're more difficult to figure out. Detroit's pretty straightforward to me. Like, I think I know I know what they are. I know what they do well. I think what they do well translates against basically anybody. Like, they're going to play really fucking physical. They are going to bash you on the offensive glass. Their offense is simple, but there's a value in simplicity because they know exactly where their bread is buttered, right? It's like they don't need to worry about like, oh, we have to find a way to like blend in Asar Thompson's offense and Ron Holland's offense. And it's like, no, like those guys will just play off fucking Cade and play off the Dern, and that's that. And the Knicks,
but they rely heavily on transition too, right?
So they do, but they are extremely athletic.
To me, that's where I think also against Atlanta, I think the teams that were great from transition and offensive rebounding, but especially transition, are really going to struggle in the playoffs because to the point we just talked about, teams are going to get back in the playoffs. They're not going to let you get transition buckets. And if that's your main go-to, then I think that's, I would say that does bode not well for Detroit or Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I have more faith in Detroit. I think they have better athletes. They're also just a bigger team, which does matter. But I know what they are, and I think what they are translates. I think what they are is pretty reliable going into a postseason. Like, this is not a team that's like, oh, we rely on 3-point shooting either, right? Like, they don't fucking shoot threes, which is its own problem, by the way. But like, that's not gonna. You're not gonna beat them because all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, the Pistons, the 3-point variance went against them. It's like, no, like they don't even fucking shoot threes. So like that's not going to be part of the equation. So I know who they are. I think Boston is a pretty known quantity, to be honest. Like, even though it is a new team in some ways, like I kind of know what they're looking for. I kind of know what their best guys are going to do. And I kind of know that they don't have anybody to defend Jalen Brunson, and they don't have anybody to defend Karl-Anthony Towns. And I think that's a big problem for them. And, that to me is like, I feel good about the Knicks coming out of the East. Cleveland might be a tough matchup for us because they do have 2 ball handlers. So,
I do feel like we've always sucked against Harden too, like forever.
Harden has definitely played the Knicks very well in his career. And you don't have we've talked like one of the Knicks' deficiencies on their roster is you don't have a lot of great point of attack defenders on the team, and Harden is good at manipulating, opponents' defenses, and he's going to put Brunson in the action, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's all there. And yet in my head, I'm like, do I really believe that the Knicks will lose to a team led by James Harden, who has, constantly.
Or do I really think Mitchell Robinson is going to fucking eat up Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley and shit them out? And Cat too. Fuck it. I don't want to shit out Cat and Mitchell Robinson are going to fucking tag team those guys. Yeah, I 100% believe that.
So I don't know. I think the Knicks are in a good spot in this Eastern Conference. This is as good as it gets for them in terms of like the opportunity in front of you. The conference is there to be won. Maybe the season didn't unfold exactly the way that a lot of people thought. I'm probably during the actual, as the season goes along, you kind of lose sight of it, but I didn't think they were going to be an all-conquering team throughout the course of the season. And it didn't go exactly how I anticipated, but they did close the season much stronger than I thought that they opened the season. And the final 40 games of the season, they're pretty damn good. Again, I read that off the numbers, at third best net rating in the league. Like they're
did
just
you not feel like we were worse against good teams than bad teams. Like we had some, like the Hornets game, we talked about it. That was like an opportunity to show, like, and then they just got fucking blown out. I do think that was demoralizing. It was like the Hornets are playing really well. This is an opportunity to, like, let's meet somebody at their best. And the Knicks just weren't there. And it's not that I think the Hornets are a better team. It's just like you're just looking for more of those opportunities, you know.
I mean, yeah, it'd be great if they played 82 games against really good teams.
But can you think of examples where like you were really like, this is a game against a good team? They went
smoked
out.
the Spurs on national television. The Spurs
had
2 days off. Yeah, but you don't play the Spurs every day. How many teams are as good as the Spurs? There's 2 maybe in the league. Like, you don't have a lot
in the
of
last
matchups.
few weeks, they beat the Hawks. We should mention they beat the Hawks.
They beat the Hawks. They beat the Celtics. Like, I don't mean they beat the
Celtics
Spurs.
without
They smoked the Nuggets.
Was Brown
Like,
out? Who's out with the Celtics?
Tatum was out. Or no, so Brown was out. Yeah, Tatum played. Brown was out.
Yeah, so that's part of it, right? So
yeah, but do you hold every team to the same under the same microscope? No, nobody does that.
No, we don't.
Exactly.
But,
so that's why I reject the entire argument. I think the entire premise is ridiculous. Like,
do you think that if we watched every team the way we did the Knicks, it would look much more normal? Like how they are up and down.
It would look more normal. I saw this Cavs team, new look Cavs team. Oh, they got Harden. Everybody's playing fully healthy, and they lost. They lost to the fucking Celtics at home before Tatum returned. But like, they're fine and they're good, and we should all be worried about the Cavs. It's bullshit. Like, no team is discussed in such a ridiculous manner as the Knicks. It is like very, very clear that that's just.
So do you think that the Knicks are not so inconsistent, but that we're just scrutinized more, or that our fans scrutinize them more?
Yes, all of it. Yes, I'm sure every fan base thinks their fan base is the most insane, but like, and
do you think every fan base thinks their team is inconsistent?
Yes, every fan base is harsher on their team than they are on anybody else, at least internally. And then, if other people come in, you're like, well, actually, fuck you, buddy. But like, yeah, I don't think maybe even if they are more inconsistent than other teams, like, okay, but they're 53-29. So like, so are we saying that, like, are the Cavs massively inconsistent? Like, and what I would also say is, if they are 53-29, but we're deeming them very inconsistent, and I'll even grant you that let's say they are more inconsistent than other teams, and so they have these big swings between their best and their worst. Well, what I would say is that, like, I think there's a value to having super high peaks. There's actually a value to that versus grinding it out slow and steady every game, and you're just a metronome of consistency. Like, the metronome of consistency is a great regular season thing to have. In the postseason, your peak is a lot more important than metronome of consistency good. You cannot win if your peak is not elite. And what we have seen is, when the Knicks are really good, they can smoke the Spurs twice. They can smoke Denver in their building, by 39 points. Like, they can deliver crushing blows. They can go on runs that crush teams. And that, to me, is what you want. You want that peak when you are trying to win a title. And I do think, like, I think that was a meaningful difference between the Knicks last year and the Pacers last year, because the Knicks peaks last year were not nearly as high as they have been this year. And maybe they didn't have as many frustrating lows. I would say that's bullshit. Like, they were horrendous last year to watch. We know about their record against the Cavs and their record against the Celtics and their record against all these and the Thunder, and like how bad it was. Like, they had pretty bad lows last year too, but their highs were not as high. The highs of this year's team that they've hit, I think, are meaningfully better. That's borne out in their net rating. That's borne out in their offensive rating. They're borne out in their defensive rating. Like, they are a better team. At least put their better position going into the playoffs. Will that result in better results? I don't know. I hope so. But like I said, we saw last year how weird the playoffs could be. The Knicks beat the Celtics, right? I don't think anybody had that one on their bingo card going into that series. So, you still have to take care of business, and things happen, but I feel pretty good about where this team is at. And I feel really good about where Mike Brown has this team, because I think he needed time to. I think he's needed really the full 80.
Changed the starting lineup.
Okay, I'm unsure what point is being made here.
Well,
so I can't feel good. I can't feel good about Mike Brown.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But that has seemed to be the elephant in the room for this team, right?
Is it an elephant in the room? Because usually when we say an elephant in the room, we're saying, like, nobody wants to talk about it, but I feel like it's all we fucking talk about. I feel like that's all we've talked about for 2 years.
So it's a visible elephant in the room. It is the
it's
but my point is, if that hasn't changed, and that is the biggest thing about this team, how much more happy can you be about Mike Brown?
I think you can be substantially happier about Mike Brown because the game isn't just played, oh, well, starter minutes were bad. That's it. Game's over. That's not how it works. Like, that isn't how it works. And he doesn't close games with the starting lineup all the time either, which is why their total minutes this year are lower than what they were last year. I think you can be plenty happy with Mike Brown and still have like reservations about that. I do. I still don't believe that's our best five. But I also don't know what our best five is. And I think it's okay to just...
You and I have talked a lot about how even if it's a few minutes, it can cost you a game. Right? So you're more okay with that being the starting lineup now?
I think you are continuing to focus on one element and boiling down an evaluation of Mike Brown to this one thing.
I'm not talking about an evaluation of Mike Brown. I'm talking about...
That's what we're doing. I'm saying I'm happy with what Mike Brown has, where Mike Brown has this team. That doesn't mean I think everything Mike Brown is doing is perfect. I don't particularly love Jordan Clarkson being our ninth man.
How important do you think if this team plays the starting lineup for the whole playoffs, how important do you think that is, even if he takes them out 3 or 4 minutes into the game? Because I think if he takes
3 or 4 minutes in the game, like that's fine.
That's not what you said That's not what we said a couple weeks ago. So
no, I think we basically said a couple weeks ago, like, yeah, if you cut down the minutes significantly to start games, that would be fine. You could probably do that. I mean, if he's reducing their minutes 3 or 4 minutes into the game into halves, that would be a pretty massive difference. Like I could be wrong. Maybe I said 2 weeks ago, like that still wouldn't be enough. But like.
No, I'm not trying to got you on this, but like, so you're less concerned. It sounds like I'm not trying to got you on this. What I'm saying is, are you less concerned about the starting lineup because a couple weeks ago when we talked, we both were on the side of, and you definitely were, that the starting lineup's a big fucking issue because they're not good. Are you less concerned about it now? And
I am intrigued by what I've seen from them against the Hawks and against the Celtics. With how they've used that lineup. Do I think they have every answer in the book? Not necessarily. Do I think that teams putting a center on Josh Hart and letting him roam, can that still give them issues? Sure. But I think there's been some creative workarounds with that Mike Brown has gotten into. I think he's gotten more into his bag in terms of calling plays, running organized offense. Not letting them freelance as much. I think there was a lot of like, he's happy to let them figure it out on their own throughout the course of the season. I think he's tightened up the ship on his end towards the end of the season, which gives me more confidence. He's definitely done a better job than Tibbs as far as being willing not to close with that 5 all the time, which was like really like in some ways more infuriating than starting games with that lineup, was like going back to it all the fucking time. No matter what. I mean, in some ways, you can argue that cost us game 1 against the Pacers. But yeah, like, is it perfect? No. Like, in an ideal world, you would start maybe not your best 5, but a good 5. And despite how good they've looked this past week or so, like, it's very difficult to just say, like, well, now this lineup is good. Like, we have 2 years of evidence that suggests
do you think they've looked better because Deuce came back and they knew that there's now a threat?
I would certainly hope not. I just think that they've figured some stuff out. And I think it helps that all of a sudden Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson have gotten on the same page in their 2-man game. I don't think they ever had beef or anything like that, but there was definitely a lack of
chemistry, right? Yeah, there's
a lack of chemistry.
How they play with each other.
Yeah, like they were not playing in a way that did either of them a favor. And now all of a sudden they are, and their chemistry looks good. And I think they have, I don't know if Mike Brown was like keeping shit hidden away for most of the season. If you didn't want to let teams see it, but like there's definitely been an emphasis on those two guys running actions together. And I think he has made it an emphasis to run very specific plays and utilize them in specific ways. But like, look, Brunson's played better, and Towns, I think, has had a journey throughout 82 games to kind of figure out what.
By the way, I think that's the most. I still see so much shit towards Towns. Like, it shouldn't be a thing. Like, I don't think I was here. Like, the weird thing is Brunson's been playing better for the last week. And I don't think I was, like, last time we talked, you were like, Cat has been the Knicks' best player. And I was like, Like, now I'm like, yeah, honestly, he's been a pretty good center. Spaces the floor, even without shooting the ball the way he normally does. Just does everything that he's asked to and is a load. And people just don't like him because sometimes he has a lisp. That's what it seems like. But he has been the next best player. I think Brunson's ceiling is better than his and more important than his, but Cat has been the Knicks' best player. And yeah,
people have been saying this is like a down year for Cat, and his numbers are down. There's no question. Here are his career averages: 22.8 points, 11.1 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 52.2 from the field, 39.7 from three, 84 from the free throw line, 57.5 effective field goal percentage, and 62.4 true shooting percentage. Here are his numbers this year: 20.1 points, 11.9 rebounds, 3.0 assists, 50.1 from the field, 36.8% from three, 85.8 from the free throw line, 55.6 effective field goal percentage, and a 61.9 true shooting. Like, it's a bit down. It's a bit down pretty much across the board. That's still a damn good offensive season. And he's doing that while playing a lot better defensively. I think he's pretty decisively been the Knicks' best player. At least he's been their most valuable player. And part of value is the number of games you play and all those type of things. And he's been there, right? He's played a lot of games this year. He's played 75 games. He deserves a ton of credit. And so, I think he's definitely playing better right now than he did to close, than he was earlier in the season. I think he's in a better comfort zone. I don't know what happened in that Rockets game, but that felt like a really big moment in the season where he was very frustrated with his lack of involvement at times. And I understand that frustration. But since then, it feels like not only did they get him more involved, but his involvement is in concert with Brunson. It's getting other guys involved. I also wonder, it just feels like I don't know what happened, but you also feel like Mikal Bridges, we've talked a lot about how do you get more out of Bridges and whatever. And I understand that. I think there's a value to just Bridges being very cool with fine, I don't mind getting fucking 7 shots today, and I'll still play really hard on defense, and I will be focused. He has despite his weird up and down and inconsistent and sometimes invisible offensive output, his defense has been there all year. And I think that's not nothing. That's actually a tangible difference from last season where it felt like he would let his lack of involvement affect his defensive effort. So
and the things that Mikal Bridges does are less loud than things that he doesn't, right? Like when he's not dunking on dudes, when his on-ball defense isn't smothering, if it's instead off-ball stuff or just kind of shot deterrence, he's never going to be it's just always going to be a weird eval,
Yeah, and he leads the team in total minutes again. Or I guess last year, yes, I think last year he led them in total minutes. Josh Hart led them in minutes per game, if I remember correctly. Whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Did Josh Hart played a lot of minutes last year?
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, I think that just that's it feels like the team is trending in a good way individually, and how all those things are coming together now collectively. And really that 5-man lineup in some ways, that's where you feel it the most, because I think we've always known that when you get that, once you start bringing in different pieces, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, or whatever, those lineups are forever been good, and we knew that inherently. But for those 5 guys to be maybe playing their best ball that they've played together in a long time, that would be that'd be perfect timing for the Knicks. We talked about Brunson kind of getting in shape together, Towns finding his comfort zone, Bridges maybe accepting what his role is. OG has, I think, found a better offensive rhythm in the last couple of weeks. He's actually shooting 38.6% from 3 this season, which is nice. But even like Josh Hart, Josh Hart's shooting 41.3% from 3 this year, which is nuts. Like he is tied. He's tied with Deuce McBride in terms of 3-point percentage for the season on the team. So like
lower volume, we should say, but yeah.
Yes, of course, lower volume, but like he's also probably played double the minutes of Deuce. Not quite double, but yeah, he's actually attempted 28 more threes on the season than Deuce, which is funny.
Yeah, the point is like Deuce is taking more difficult threes than Josh.
Of course, yeah, but Josh Hart shooting 41.3% from 3.
Yeah, that is a big win. Yeah.
Deuce has actually shot more. He shot 29 more threes than Josh Hart for the season. But like, and not just is he shooting, like, and we need to see him do it consistently. We know that he has these weird ups and downs and ebbs and flows with like his willingness to shoot the ball. So to see him have the game and turn around the game he was having against Boston from that first half into the second half is really encouraging. Needed to continue. It can't just be a one-time thing. But when he is playing like that, it changes a lot of things for the Knicks. And it changes how you defend that starting lineup. So like the Knicks have a lot of things that feel like they're trending in the right direction right now. And I think Mike Brown has figured out, and I think he's needed the full 82 to figure out a lot of things, try some things out, some good, some not. And be in a better position entering the postseason to kind of push the right buttons when those buttons need to be pressed. Will he do it? Will he nail that? There's no way to know. We will have to wait to see.
Nobody nails it 100% of the time.
No, you got to nail it. You got to be like 60%. If you nail 60%,
and you got to hit the right 60% at the right time. The most high leverage moments. I do want to ask, kind of on the rotation part. So it looks like Jordan Clarkson has become the 9th man. It looked like at times Diawara had been there. Alvarado. It looks like the rotation is the starters: Deuce McBride, Shamet, Mitch, and then Clarkson as the 9th guy. I think it's kind of been earned. Like he's been offensive rebounding really well. He's been playing well. On the other hand, I just feel like Alvarado's game is more like I like Alvarado as a poor man's TJ McConnell. But I'm curious how you think about that and how much it matters.
I can't blame Mike Brown for going with Clarkson or Alvarado. Alvarado got a lot of opportunities and he was passing up shots. He was just playing whack. I don't know how else to put it really other than that. Like he didn't do anything to earn the minutes. Clarkson fought for those minutes. He has picked it up defensively. The offensive rebounding stuff with him has helped. He's not taking as many wild shots in general, wild threes very specifically. Do I have great faith in Jordan Clarkson come postseason? No, although he has been a pretty decent postseason player in his career, which is interesting. But it's definitely not perfect. Diawara would have been interesting. I think he's rightfully kind of cut down his minutes. It's fine. Diawara's a rookie. He'll be fine. It's not a big deal.
Do you think the Knicks are hiding him from other teams?
No. I got to hear about fucking Hugo Gonzalez all year. That guy's been getting DNP CDs, so kind of tells you what's what. But yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with Clarkson, I guess, as the 9th man. And to Mike Brown's credit, when Clarkson doesn't have it going, he has definitely cut his minutes. I think against Atlanta, I want to say I think he played under 10 minutes in that game. So like, I think he knows, or at least he understands that there might be moments and situations where Clarkson, he either has it or he doesn't have it. And when he doesn't have it, it's okay to cut his minutes. And Clarkson's handled that well all year, right? He's never pouted. He's never pouted. He's never bitched. I mean, the fact that he's back in the rotation, I think it speaks volumes to his professionalism and how he's conducted himself throughout this. Mike Brown's only talked about him in glowing ways. Mike Brown's been talking positively about Jose Alvarado and how he's conducted himself since kind of like basically getting moved to a permanent benching situation. So I think it's fine. Is it perfect or ideal? Like anybody that's telling you that it's ideal that Jordan Clarkson is playing a bunch of minutes for us.
But that is kind of most teams. Like, if you want your ninth guy to be like a full-on rotation player, that's just not very common unless you're Oklahoma City. But yeah.
I mean, you would love a real ninth guy, right? Like a guy that you're like, this guy, no matter what, I know he can play. Like, that'd be ideal. Is it realistic to expect that? I don't know.
Well, we used to have that, but then we didn't have. Then our best player was Julius Randle. So it's a trade-off, right?
Yes.
So you maximize the starting lineup, and now Jordan Clarkson at that point is your ninth guy. When your sixth guy is Mitchell fucking Robinson, your seventh guy is Deuce fucking McBride. Then you live with your eighth and ninth guy, and the eighth guy is Shamet. It's pretty good. Then you live with that, right? So it's kind of the trade-off.
Yeah, and we need hopefully Deuce found his rhythm in that pointless Hornets game. That would be good if that's a harbinger of things to come. But we'll see. I mean, look, this actually is an interesting matchup for Deuce because the Hawks, while they do have decent size, they play a lot of perimeter players. CJ McCollum, obviously, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. It'll be interesting to see if this is a matchup where you need Deuce because I know Alexander Walker is taller and longer, but like he's not like an overpowering type of player.
Yeah, and Deuce's physicality can get into him.
Yeah, and CJ McCollum is not like an overpowering type of player. This will be an interesting matchup to see how Mike Brown uses the pieces he does have. And I think people should be prepared for the potential of like, hopefully we have 4 series, but like that these rotations. Not only do I think that different opponents will necessitate fluctuating minutes of different players. I think that we need to have somewhat more bespoke game plans than maybe other teams do with how we use our personnel. But I would even say game to game, like I really believe that like if this team has a strength, or they do have a strength, obviously they have a lot of strengths. But if you were to say like, what do you think is the best quality this team has? Well, I think their best quality is kind of what makes it. I think it's what makes them a trickier team maybe to navigate the waters for to lead them to a championship, which is that like I think their best quality is that they can win in different ways, and that they have a lot of versatility in how you can set up your 5-man lineups. Now you got to find those right buttons, and that's a challenge. Like because this is not, the Death Star lineup Warriors with KD. This is not, the Heatles where you're like, oh, we know exactly what our best 5 is, and that best 5, they're going to be our best 5 no matter who we play, no matter what the night is. Like, that's our best 5. Like, I don't think the Knicks have that. They don't have that. I would say that very confidently. They don't have that. I couldn't tell you right now what the Knicks' best 5-man lineup is. And I think anybody that pretends that, or anybody that claims to know that they know exactly what the Knicks' best 5-man
starters with Deuce.
I don't know. Maybe you could argue that to me, and I could believe it, and I could feel very strongly about that. I don't know that. I certainly think there are nights where that wouldn't be their best lineup. And I think there are nights where maybe it's a double big lineup. Maybe it's, maybe it's putting Mitch at the 5 and surrounding him with 4 shooters and Brunson, and like it can change. It can change, and we've seen Mike Brown, to his credit, adapt as games go along. I think there's a reason why they have by far the best fourth quarter net rating in the league. I think it's because he has pushed those right buttons, and that he's been willing to sit Josh Hart down the stretch of a game, sit Mikal Bridges down the stretch of a game, sit Karl-Anthony Towns down the stretch of a game. He's played double big. He's gone with no center lineups with Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitch Robinson available. He's tried everything. He's tried these things in crunch time. One of the cool things he did against Boston was he played a no center lineup at, I think it was 109, 104. The Knicks actually gave up an offensive rebound, and then Vucevic scored, but then Josh Hart gets a 3 on the next possession to kind of end the game. But he closed that game without a center on the floor. And, we had Karl-Anthony Towns, who was not in foul trouble. We had Mitchell Robinson, who was not in foul trouble. He actively made that choice. And when you see a coach making active decisions like that, that's kind of the stuff that it's hard to pinpoint. But that's the stuff that we never saw from Tibbs, or if we did, it was so exceedingly rare. And it is the type of thing that I think the Knicks need their coach to be able to push those buttons if they're going to win a championship, because they're not going to win a championship just being like, I love Jalen Brunson. I think he's an amazing player. I'm happy that he's the Knicks number 1. I'm happy he's their franchise player. If we're all being honest with ourselves, we would say, right, if the Knicks played Oklahoma City in a championship series, they would not have the best player. If they played Denver in a championship series, they would not have the best player. Maybe if they played San Antonio, we know the trajectory Wemby is on. Postseason is different.
I think Wemby is better than Brunson.
It's maybe, but postseason is a different thing. He's never handled. I mean, he's just not done it yet. I think it's fair to be like,
alien. I think it's fair to be like he is bad at double teams. That's why we beat them, because he can't handle our double teams. But also against us, against us, I would agree with you. But I also think against most teams.
Either way, the point is, like, they don't have an MVP type. The Knicks don't have an MVP caliber player. Like, they're like, Jalen Brunson's never going to win MVP. That's fine. I don't think that's not my concern. But like. So, like, to win a championship without an MVP type guy, like, your team needs to have something about it that is different from the norm. And I do think what's different for this team is that they can play in different ways, that they have these different lineups. I mean, Brunson's numbers with, like, when he's just on the floor with Mitch and they have shooting all around them, they're great. Like, he's fucking lights out in those lineups this year. I think I want to say he's like 61.5 true shooting versus like 56 or something like that without Mitch on the floor. So, like, and we've seen that before. We've talked about it before, right? That, like, does Brunson, like, is he more comfortable with like a rolling big? And
Mitch pulls the big away from him so we can get to that.
Yeah, I just think it's whatever the reason is, though, we know those lineups work, and that's like a totally different dynamic from, now we're running these bench lineups where it's like Cat and then there's no point guard on the floor. And it's just like shooters, and like that, those lineups are pretty good too. And obviously we have the starting lineup, which is its own thing, but like we also know we don't need to sit here and debate the starting lineup, but what we do know is that there are lineups that have Brunson and Cat on the floor and 3 other shooters and you're 5 out that are really effective. So, like, the Knicks have a lot of options. They have a lot of different ways to attack opponents, to challenge opponents. The challenge of coaching this team is not lost on me. But you also have to like I don't think Tibbs' job was easy last year. But you got to actually like try to push different buttons, not just keep pressing the same one over and over and over again and hoping you get bailed out. Like, Mike Brown's pushing different buttons. He's tried different things. And if they're going to win a championship, I think that will be a large piece of it, that he is pushing the right buttons.
Yeah, I think the question is, you can push lots of different buttons. You can push one. But from pushing lots of different buttons, the idea is eventually you learn a subset of it that are the right buttons, right? So, which I think we're still kind of trying to figure out. With Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we'll have the best series. We'll have the best player on the floor. I think we have the best player in the East right now. The Bucks are not in it. Tatum is not 100%. Is that fair to say? We have the best player in the Eastern Conference right now.
I mean, what I would say is I don't think he's played the best, but do I trust him like in the postseason, in that, you know, the cauldron of the heat of the moment and all these type of things? Yeah, of course I do. I don't think it's unfair to say that. I mean, it would be in the minority, I'm sure. And Giannis isn't in the playoffs, so you don't have to really worry about him. But like, I mean, so like, of the remaining players,
trust him in the playoffs.
Of the remaining players in the conference, like, I think there's definitely an argument for Brunson being the best player left in the field.
What about RJ Barrett?
No, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see an argument for anyone else. Cade had a better season than him, but I'm not even talking about. I mean, I hope he's completely recovered. The difficult injury, but Brunson's more efficient. We've seen him play against Donovan Mitchell. We've seen how that turns out. We've seen him play against Jaylen Brown and Tatum and how that turns out. And you could argue last year, even in that series, Tatum was the better player, but you can't argue that now. And I think Brunson also was the better player last year. So, you know, they have the best player. I think Cat is going to open a lot of people's eyes. The shittiest thing about the NBA commentary is Shaq making fucking 1950s ass comments about how Cat is too effeminate while he's dropping 20 and 10. I feel pretty good about this team. But I do want to ask you, I don't know. It seems like you were pretty down on this team a couple weeks ago. Has anything changed, or is this just kind of the ups and downs of the season, or what?
I mean, I was down on where they were. I've never really wavered on like their contender. I mean, again,
that's what I mean though. But like, how you feel about how they're going to play the next time they suit up?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I don't know how to. I think I have a pretty good grasp on like when this team is going good and when they're going bad, and like I felt pretty confident after the way they beat Memphis and the way they beat Chicago that they would come out against Atlanta and have a good game and win that. I was very confident about that. They did that. I was very confident they beat Boston. They beat Boston, and the rest of it didn't matter. Obviously, you know, you play the Raptors, which like I don't even think the Knicks played that well in that game, and it didn't matter because they're just better than the fucking Raptors, and they own that team.
We're just a horrible matchup for them.
Yeah, it's a terrible matchup for them. I'm not even.
We're like their Thunder, except also the talent is a huge difference. So.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I know they didn't have RJ, they didn't have Quickly, but like we've played them without guys. You know, we didn't have Mitchell Robbins in that game. We didn't have Deuce McBride in that game. Like
that's actually what I.
But yeah, like I think I have a good grasp on like when this team is trending properly and when they are locked in. And I just felt like the way they came out against Memphis, it wasn't a great performance. Like they turned the ball over a lot, but the ball was zipping around and their defense was pretty whack throughout a lot of that game. But like the ball was zipping around, they were playing together. I think that was a good game for them to like to get Towns involved, to have a game plan where it's, you know, you're building everything around Towns, right? When Brunson's out. And then the next game was against the Bulls and Cat didn't play that game. So you get to see like, okay, what do they look like, you know, when it's Brunson. And I think it was good for Brunson too, because I think he did need to like be like, yo, listen, you gotta trust your teammates, like, because we're not gonna win if like you're doing everything. We're gonna win if you bring everyone with you and help them help you, right? To quote the great Jerry Maguire. But like, I mean, there is something to that though, right? Like, help me help you. Like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, and like we know what their deficiencies are, right? We don't want them to start trying to break down defenses off the dribble consistently, which makes it even more important that Jalen Brunson, as the leader, the floor general, or whatever of the team, but really the primary ball handler, the only guy in some ways that can create advantages consistently and bend defenses, that he has to do a better job getting those guys going, getting Karl-Anthony Towns going. Get him involved early in a game. And I just think all those things, I don't know why, but I felt like they clicked into place in that game. I felt good going into that Hawks game. I thought they would win that. I really did. I thought, there was something to like having a nice couple games in a row and feeling good about yourself and getting back on track. And I'm not saying I'm a genius or anything like that, but I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel very good about where they are now. And those things can change, but right now this feels a little bit different to me. This feels like they are
hitting their stride at the right time.
It just feels like they have a clear idea now of what it all is supposed to look like. And I think they've been searching for that all year. Like, I know they had really good stretches before, right? Don't get me wrong, but I don't know what they had.
To say Deuce is like really important, and him coming back. Like my hot take is if they had Deuce against Trae Young in 2021, I think we might win that series. But do you think that's just that simple that he kind of puts a lot of people into the right places?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. He hasn't even played that well, and I think it goes beyond that because they've been really good.
He hasn't played that well, but even just him being out there and what he does, right?
Yeah, but I don't
make other guys' lives simpler.
He wasn't even on the floor in like the biggest moments of those games, which is like I'm not. That's fine. Yeah, that speaks to like what I think the strength of the team is, but I don't know. Maybe he has some intrinsic value just like being part of the rotation again. But no, I just think it's right. I just think they're playing. I just think they have found what they were looking for most of the season, and maybe they'll make me look stupid because we saw what it looked like for a little while. They smoked Denver, and then it was like, yeah, but what if we just like troll now for the next couple of weeks? And like it's whatever. But this feels different. This feels a lot more like Brunson and Cat very specifically. I found something. It feels like Mike Brown maybe is cutting out some of the bullshit of his own, and tightening the screws. So yeah, I feel good about where this team is, and I do think it's. I mean, you're gonna feel how you feel about a team over the course of the season. Fans are gonna have opinions that vary, but like you have to actually, I think when you step away and like zoom out, the picture has always looked kind of okay to me. It's never felt like really other than that 2-9 stretch. It never felt like, oh man, this season is on the brink. Oh, this team is miserable. It's never felt like that to me. So I think, when you're talking about them day to day, sure, maybe your opinions can not just fluctuate, but straight up be contradictory week to week or something. But in general, when you've zoomed out and looked at the picture, it's like, yeah, this team is really good. And that's pretty much it. Like there's not a big argument to me other than that. And, obviously we can have and debate the minutia of it. Well, what do they lack? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? But in general, it's just a very good team that has a chance to win a championship. And that's really not been in question to me throughout this entire time. It wasn't really a question to me by the end of last year. It was like, yeah, I guess like, if they beat the Celtics, I think they're definitely a contender. They probably could win a championship. Maybe it's not the right coach. Maybe Mike Brown won't be the right coach either. And maybe this team needs something else and whatever. But like for right now, yeah.
We can say in hindsight, they ran into a pretty good team. Like I think we should have beat the Pacers, but also the Pacers took Indy to 7 and could have won if Halliburton get hurt. So there's a whole lot of shame in losing there. I think the decision to fire Tibbs was correct, but it's also not like a shameful loss,
No. We don't need to go into the Pacers series.
I mean, no, we both feel like I feel like they should have won. I also think the Pacers are a great team. Like I think both can.
No, the Pacers are a very good team. I've never doubted that. I do think it's kind of a shameful loss, but I think that it's what it is.
I mean, they took OKC to 7, and they could have beat OKC. Shame is. I think maybe we're debating on the word shame, but
they just. I don't know that you should. The fact that you lost game 1 is just never going to sit right with me, and then the fact that game 2 played out the way it played out, which was one of probably the worst coach game.
That's true. I mean,
at least I saw
it's like Miami, right? Is there shame in losing to Miami? No, but also we should have beat them.
Yeah, it's so much more frustrating for me than Miami. Even it was just
wow.
That one was at least like a year where you're kind of like, all right, second round's a pretty good year for this team. That was the whatever. We don't need to talk about it. All right, I think that's a good place to end this. Stacy.
Well, I gotta ask you.
What?
Well, I don't know if you're gonna do this with Prez. So if you're gonna do this with Prez before the series starts, we can hold off. But do you have a serious prediction, or do you want to hold off on
that? My serious prediction is right there, buddy. Right here.
Okay.
I think Knicks win 5, and I think it'll be a competitive games. I don't think like this is going to be, 20-point blowouts and stuff, but I think the Knicks are a better team, and I do think the Knicks are peaking at the right time. And I'm skeptical of how much Atlanta has left in the tank because I think they have done a lot of emptying of the tank to get to where they are.
Yeah, I think if you look at Hawks from red states, this has not been a very encouraging few weeks for them. I'm going to give the Knicks 6 games. I think it's going to be like the Pistons series last year. I think it's going to be tough. They've played us tough every game. But I also the more I read about it, the more I'm like, this could also just be the Raptor series, but not as evident. But I'm going to go with 6. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 6. And then, I think Cleveland should beat. I think Cleveland's going to fucking smoke Toronto. I think that is a very fraudulent playoff team. And then I think we know what happens when the Knicks play Cleveland. I think we should beat Detroit too. I think the whole thing comes down to if we don't play Oklahoma City, I think we beat anyone else. Oh, actually, you probably are going to be not agreeing, but besides Oklahoma City, the only other team I think that would beat us is the Lakers. Because I just fucking hate. I think we just struggle to match up with Luka and LeBron.
Are the Lakers going to make it out of the first round? Why are we even talking about them?
There's no but chance. If they do, I mean, the Nuggets might not.
The Lakers. I will fucking shave my head if the Lakers make the finals.
All right, Heisenberg. We'll see. I hope they don't. But besides them, I think we should beat San Antonio, Denver. I mean, shit, buddy. We won 1 championship this year. We didn't talk about that. Go blue. But I think they're set up well. They're playing well. I think Brunson has figured a lot of things out over the course of the year. We'll see.
Yes, we will. All right. Stacey, let them know they can find you and plug anything you'd like to plug.
You can find me at Stacey Patton 89. I will plug. I know the playoffs are coming. We don't want to think about the draft too much, unless you're a Michigan fan, maybe. But if you want to see an early first mock first round board from one of the best out there, check out the Strickland for Prez's draft board. If you're a college fan, also it's relevant with all the transfer portal news and all that. But check out Prez's draft board, the first one that's come out recently.
Yeah, I'll echo that sentiment. Prez's draft board was very good, very educational. I enjoyed it, and I would recommend reading it. I have nothing to plug. I will plug all the work at Strickland. Check out again Prez's big board. Check out the post game. Sam and Tyrese are back. And they're back and doing it more consistently now after each game. So
go blue, Shwin. Come on, you're not gonna fucking rep. We won. The fucking championship.
I enjoyed the championship run, and I feel a little bit like it's stolen valor for me because I basically did not watch them play all season. But it was great. It was awesome to see them win a championship, and it's always nice to have more championships than Tom Izzo does in the 21st century. So that's
one
good.
done, one to go. We're gonna get this.
Yeah, and then they lost in hockey, which is that's a classic Michigan thing to do, is lose the Frozen Four. All right. All right, that's good. That's our show for today. I'm not sure when me and Prez are recording, but we will have another podcast out for you this week for sure. So be on the lookout for that. All right. I hope everybody enjoys your week. And I'll see you on Friday. Peace.